Hi everyone, this is Derek and welcome back to a new video on how to do market basket analysis using RapidMiner. So this particular video, I'm going to take you through the principles behind what market basket analysis is and how we can simulate market basket analysis using RapidMiner. Now, if you have not watched the video on how to use the basic concepts of RapidMiner, please check that video out. So let us begin.
Really cool stuff that we can do. So the first thing we want to look at is what is market basket analysis. So basically, when you go to a store, you'll buy a lot of stuff, right? And when you buy a lot of stuff, you notice that there is these things that are associated in one basket. So maybe you buy apples with oranges and then oranges with other stuff as well. Or some people buy chocolates and coffee or sugar and Coke and so on and so forth. So basically, we are trying to identify frequently purchased items or services or activities from given transactional or behavioral data. Now, this analysis is not only limited to products. Basically, you can also do basket analysis using other things like visited pages on a website, or even questions that is raised in terms of support tickets, and even the dishes ordered in a restaurant. So, you know, a lot of things that you can do in terms of associating things to each other. Now, so the thing is that you're given is a set of transactions where each of the transactions consist a set of items. And the goal that you're trying to do is to extract rules that represent the interesting relationship among the items, which means what are the highest associations that you see in terms of the items linking together. Okay, so as an example, you notice that this is a transaction ID, transaction of a market basket, where each transaction you have, for example, the first transaction, this person bought bread and milk together, and then the second transaction, you bought bread, diapers, beers, and eggs. So what we're trying to do is to find an association. So if I buy this, what is the association that I will also buy this? So like if I buy X, customers who buy X will also likely buy Y. So strong association. So X is kind of known as the rule antecedent, and Y is kind of known as the rule consequent. Okay, so for example, if let's say if I were to put this into a market basket, I'll see that milk and diapers, people who buy milk and diapers will generally buy beer, and people who buy bread will generally buy milk, people who buy milk will generally buy bread. So it's kind of like a two-way analysis. Okay, so let me go to a priori algorithm, and what is a priori algorithm, why a priori algorithm is so important when it comes to market basket analysis. So market basket analysis uses this thing called the a priori algorithm to efficiently search large databases or transactional data for association rules. So you have a lot of data and a lot of transactions that come together, and you want to find out what is the strongest association of each of these items that go together. And in marketing, this is important because it gives us a way that we can do cross-selling and also upselling. Okay, now there are three important things that a priori algorithm gives, which is support, which indicates the frequency of the products sold together. And high support means that the basket analysis statistics are more reliable, which means that additionally, high support makes the basket of the products more interestingly financial, because then you know that this and this goes together because they always is sold together and they're all bought together, so you can sell them together. The other thing is confidence, indicating the direction of the cross-selling. Indication of the direction of cross-selling means that you have two items. So is the confidence higher for item 1 to item 2, or is the confidence higher for item 2 to item 1? So you have to look at, if you're looking at two items, you have to see two different confidence. And then of course there's lift, which indicates the strength of relationship between the products. So it's kind of like an R relationship between the two. Okay, so if I were to buy this, what is the highly chances that I'll buy that as well? So I'm going to break this down into more detail for you. So let's start with support. So support basically means the percentage of transactions that include two specific products. So for example, if I have item 1 and item 2, they appear together in about 0.9% of all the transactions to support, and therefore their support is about 0.9%. Okay, so which means that in 1,000 items, 1,000 transactions, on average, I will see 9 transactions with item 1 and item 2 together. So that's basically what support is. It doesn't mean that it goes either way. Now that one is later. So support is important for two reasons. Support should be high enough to make cross-selling. So the key word here is cross-selling, opportunity for it to be financially interesting. And cross-selling products with very small revenue is probably not worth the effort, because then small little I mean, they may be strong, but then if let's say they are financially not so highly needed, then forget about it. Okay. Product combinations that happen rarely, like low support, should not be used because statistically it's not reliable on rare combination, because these are just very rare combinations that one or two people will buy. But you want to try to cross-sell things that a lot of people actually buy together. And that's where you use support. So the next one we're going to look at is confidence. Now, confidence basically means the percentage of transactions that contain the two products together out of the transactions containing one of the two products, which means as a consequence, there's always two confidence number for a couple of products, which means if let's say you have item 1, item 2, what is the confidence that if I buy item 1, I will get item 2? And the other way would be, what is the confidence if I buy item 2, I will also buy item 1? So it's kind of like which one comes first and what is the confidence that that will happen, all right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I have item 1 and item 2 now. 12.6% of consumers who bought item 1 and item 2 together out of all the consumers who bought item 1, which means a lot of people bought item 1, but only 12.6% of those people who bought item 1 also bought item 2. Whereas the other way around, the other confidence would be all those people who bought item 2, they also bought item 1. And that is 27.2%. So which means that the confidence here is useful in terms of giving the direction of the cross-selling, right? The first one we looked at was what is the cross-selling, but here is the direction of the cross-selling. We can make the hypothesis easier, that it's easier to sell item 1 to someone buying item 2, which means that you sell item 2 first, then you just throw in item 1, because you notice it's 27.2%, i.e. item 1 is a nice addition to item 2, compared the other way around, which we sell item 1, then only sell item 2, which doesn't really work that way, isn't it? Or not financially viable. So in support, you get the relationship, right, which goes together very well. In confidence, you get the direction. Okay. Now, confidence, right, doesn't give us the strength. One product might be very common purchase, so it generates high numbers for confidence independently of the second product. Now, this is where lift. So lift gives you the strength of the relationship between those two products. So if lift is close to 1, then it indicates that there is no important relationship between the product, which means it's just a 1-to-1. But if let's say the lift is higher than a 1, like a really positive relationship, then indicates that the consumers buy the basket more frequently than it would happen by chance. So a lower number than 1 indicates that the consumers buy the basket less frequently than it would happen by chance. So let me give you an example. If you have item 1 and item 2 have a lift of 3.8, okay, let's say item 1, item 2, lift of 3.8, meaning that consumers who buy them together will be 4 more times than it would happen by chance. That means, it just happened by chance. This is quite a strong relationship, right? As compared to all the other combinations within the basket. So these are the 3 most important things that you need to know when it comes to association rules.
Right. So first off, I just want to explain to you the data set I'll be using for this example. There's a transaction data of about 10,000 records, and you notice that we also have payment details as well, date of transaction,
transaction value and payment method. But actually what we're most concerned about and really effective is this list of items that people bought, and you see a code of ones and zeros, and this is sometimes how market basket analysis data is being represented. Now if you have data that's represented like this using your RapidMiner would be a great tool. But if you have transaction data where it shows the list of items as a row in CSV format, then you may want to think about using Power BI. So check out my video on that one and you will see the differences. Okay, so for how we're going to look into using RapidMiner is just very simple steps that we can see here. Is basically to go through all these steps so that we can create the meaningful visualizations that we need for our market basket analysis. So firstly, of course, you need to load the transaction data. Now you can either load the transaction data or just bring the transaction data into the repository and drag and drop into the. Right. So the next thing you need to do is to select the only the item attributes, because it's the item attributes are like the list of the items, as I mentioned, the ones and zeros. You got to drag it and drop it into the canvas, and you need to do this in a form of a subset so that you don't have to do it one by one. Yeah, when you come into the parameter later on, and then from here you basically will be able to just generate the items and push all over into the right side. Next, what you need to do is, because the data is coded as 1 and zeros, you need to change the data to code as true and false. And this is basically changing the attribute type from numerical to binomial so that it becomes a Boolean. Then determine the frequent item sets. Now this is basically using what we call the frequent pattern, or the FP growth set, to find out what is the highest support for the items that is brought together. And this is where you can use the terms of support or even confidence. So please check out my video on the market basket analysis using Power BI so that you understand a little bit about what is support, confidence, and lift. And for this one, I'm going to change it to just minimum support of 20%, and I'll explain a little bit further in the demo later on. Then you got to create the association rules, and the rules are basically for product recommendations depending on the confidence of rules. I've also changed the confidence to 0.5 for this data set because it's a bit too high if you just take the default. And make sure that all the process links to the ports, and then you run it and you will see the results as such. You can also look at that two items are the most are the minimum items which are linked together, and maximum there are 4 items which are linked together in terms of buying together. You also see maximum support and minimum support as well. You also get to see other data like for example, things like lift and confidence. Yeah, so this is where you see the lift and the confidence. You can actually sort the data in terms of the highest confidence and the highest lift, or the highest support. So it really depends on what you want to do. The best thing about this is that you can also do a graph, and I'll show you how the graph works, right? But when you go to your cursor to any of the rules, they will tell you what the rules are. So if, for example, like this one, if you want to buy coffee and beer, or you want people to buy more coffee and beer, then you should get them to go together with milks and sweets, and which has a support of 0.19, which is 90% of the entire transactions, confidence of 62%, as well as a lift of 1.86. So this shows strong confidence and strong supports. Milk and sweets are bought together with coffee and beer. Next, I'm just going to show you a quick demo on how this is done and simulated on RapidMiner.
All right, so I'm going to show you a very quick run through on how to do market basket using RapidMiner. So you've already got your RapidMiner, and make sure your transaction data is loaded into your repository. If you have not, you can press the import button and you will bring your transaction data into the repository. So I've already got mine, so I'm just going to load my transaction data inside. I need to select my attributes, make sure I'm just only selecting the what do you call this, the item sets only. I'm just gonna very quickly connect this uh, to it so that I can check what my attributes are, make sure it's a subset. So I'm only going to select only the items set. So I'm going to take out date of transaction, ID, payment method, transaction ID, and as well as transaction value. Okay, and I'm going to apply that. I'm going to make sure that I change my numerical values because it is in numerical to binomial to make sure that it is in true and false. I'm going to place in my FP growth in my associations, insight, and I want to make sure that my support is at 0.2 because 0.95 is a little bit too large. And I'm going to create my association rules. Association rules, and I'm going to place it inside there. Make sure I have the connection. And this association rules, I'm going to make sure that my minimum confidence is at 0.5 so that I don't uh, have too large of a confidence. So remember, you're creating the frequent pattern in terms of the items that will come out. I also want to make sure that I know what are the items that will come out so that at least I can see what are the items that will come out from the market basket. So I'm just going to run this. Everything looks good. Now, as you can see, you get 3 windows. Of course, I'm just going to look at the example set first, but this one is just basically telling you how the numericals were changed into binomial and doesn't really do much. But what's the more important is you have this set, which is by support. Now you remember what support is. Support is just basically how much frequency of the transactions that is being bought. So you have about 44% of people who bought coffee, and items that go together in terms of the confidence. And you also have the association rules in terms of support, in terms of the um, list of items that come together, as well as the confidence that you have. Now remember to please go and read up on what support, confidence, and lift is so that you understand the terms. So one of the best things that I can do is that I can also just show, if let's say what will people want to buy in terms of, if let's say people buy certain things, the premise, and they will ultimately buy coffee. That means if let's say you want to be selling coffee, um, you can also see what are the items that are associated to coffee and how much support that will come about. And then of course in terms of confidence, and of course in terms of lifts. So you can see that the best lift is the combination of coffee and beer. If let's say you want to get people to buy more coffee and buy more beer, sell sweets. That's according to this particular data set. So in terms of a graph, you can also, now this is a little bit too messy because all the rules are there. You can also look at just coffee and milk. Oh, sorry, coffee and milk, and you can see how coffee, milk, beer, sweets, they tend to link to each other in terms of the node graph. You can have an isom, or you can also have a circle, so you can see even better. But if you run your thing over the rule, you notice that if you want people to buy coffee and milk, they'll show you the confidence
as well as the support. And you see that they give you 0.19 support, a lift of 1.88. That's a very good lift, actually. Putting beer and sweets together would indicate that people will buy coffee and milk after that. And then in rule 13, which is a much better rule, in fact, you have beer, and then also people who buy coffee and milk. So this is how you get the association between your data sets. So have a go, have a try, understand the meaning. Again, remember to really understand the meaning of what support, confidence, and lift is, so that you really understand how this works and how important this thing can work for you. And of course, if you want to, you can either write this whole thing into Excel sheet, so you can play around with it as well in terms of the data and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you really had found some really good nuggets, and please check out my other videos as well on Rapid Miner in certain things that you do. Now, if you want to use Power BI, you can also use Power BI depending on the data set that you have. Thank you very much.